Okay, so this is a lesson on the 12 bar blues. All right, so first thing that we want to do as a refresher, we need to understand what intervals are. Intervals are the distance between two notes. So if we look at our 12 bar blues page, you'll see that we're using Roman numerals 1, 4, and 5. So those represent the different intervals that we're using. So 1 is going to represent the root. So the root is whatever key you're playing in is going to be your root. The fourth is, or the 4 is going to be the perfect fourth from that root. And let's take a look at what that actually looks like. And let's bring that up. Okay, so, all right, here we have, 3 diagrams. 1, 2, 3. The first diagram just with the green dot indicates just a root note. The root can be anywhere. So right here, I just selected that one on the 2nd fret as the root. So then the 4th is always located right underneath that root on the same fret, down 1 string. So if this is our F sharp on the 2nd fret, that means our perfect fourth is on the 2nd fret, but on the A string. So that's a B note. And then our 5th is located where this blue dot is. And that's kind of like a power chord shape a little bit, which is a root and a 5th, makes up the power chord. But the 5th is always located in respect to the root on that spot. So it's up, 1, 2 frets down a string, always going to be that way. So that would be a C sharp. Okay, so now that we understand intervals, let's take a look at the 12 bar blues sheet. Okay, so here we have it all charted out in Roman numerals. And this is just sort of the standard form for a 12 bar blues, where we have the first 4 measures are the 1 chord. Then measures 5 and 6, we go to the 4 chord. Measures 7 and 8 back to the 1. 9, we go to the 5 chord. Measure 10, we go to the 4 chord. 11, measure 11, we go back to the 1. And then measure 12, the last measure of the 12 bar blues, is the 5 chord. Like sometimes you'll hear that being referred to as the turnaround. It's referred to as the turnaround because it kind of because the 5 chord always wants to resolve back to the 1 chord. That's just a quality in music that any perfect 5th wants to resolve back to the 1. So if we go down, we took some chords as an example, where we have A7, D9, and E9. Let me just take a look at how to play those chords real quick. Okay, so A7 is a really important chord. It means A dominant 7. And we're going to play that on the green note is going to be on the 5th fret. So we're going to bar across the 5th fret. Then we're going to use our 3rd finger on, the 7th fret A string. And then our middle finger for the 6th fret on the G. So that's an A7 chord. We can move that around. If we move it down to the 3rd fret, that's a G7. Basically, that shape's movable. It's one that's really important to memorize. All right, so then we go to the next chord that we had in the 12 bar blues, which is D9. Okay, so that's the shape for the dominant 9. So we're gonna, since D is on the 5th fret on the A string, that green dot's going to go right on that 5th fret on the A string for that dominant 9 chord. Our middle finger is going to play that green dot. And then our first finger is going to play that note on the 4th fret on the D string. And then our ring finger is going to bar the G, B, and E string on the 5th fret. So it's like a funkier chord. It's not, it's very common in blues. Very common in blues. It's a great chord. And then for the 5 chord, we have, it's an E9. So we just pretty much take that shape, that D9 shape here, and we move it up to there. All right, so let's go through the 12 bar blues here. So each measure equals 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes when I'm counting, I'll count, you'll see what I do. So I keep track of the measures where I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, and so on. All right, so let me start off by playing the 8. I got my A7, D9, E9. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. 5, 2, 3, 4. 6, 2, 3, 4. 7, 2, 3, 4. 8, 2, 3, 4. 9, 2, 3, 4. 10, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 12, 2, 3, 4. So back to the first measure. You hear how that E9 chord, that 5 chord, it wanted to resolve back to the 1 chord, which is A7. So I'm going to play that last line, which is the last 4 measures, so we can hear what that turnaround sounds like, that 5 chord. So I'm going to start off on that E9, D9, A7, E9, and then I'll bring it back to the top to that first measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, E9, 2, 3, 4, D9, 2, 3, 4, A7, 2, 3, 4, E9, 2, 3, 4. Back to 1. So that's the flow for many, many, many blues songs. Let's take a look at another way that we could kind of look at the 12 bar blues. So we looked at it, how we were using regular chords. Sometimes you'll hear a 12 bar blues that'll follow that same outline where we have, 4 measures of 1, we got the 2 measures of 4, 2 measures of 1, 1, 5, and so on. But you'll see it done in more like kind of chunkier power chords. So with this, we're going to count it. We're going to play this like this A, D, A, E, D, A, E. Okay. So we're going to have an open on the A string and then 2nd fret on the D and 4th fret on the D. So it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's the first measure. So I'm doing 2 strums per, like 0, 2 gets 2, 0, 4 gets 2. They all are the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Measure 3, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and D and 2 and 3 and 4 and D and 2, 3 and 4 and A and 2 and 3 and 4 and A and 2 and 3 and 4 and E and 2 and 3 and 4 and D and 2, 3 and 4 and A and 2 and 3 and 4 and E and 2 and 3 and 4 and A. Top. So let's take a look real quick. So what I'm doing, I got my first finger on, here's for the top on the A in the 12 bar blues with the little power chords. So I'm basically just strumming. Let's see if I can get that all in the shot. I got Jimmy as my, he's like my conscience, my guardian angel sitting on my shoulder. All right, so. that's basically all we do. If we ever wanted to play it in a different key, say we wanted to do a 12 bar blues in G minor, but we didn't want to use like seventh chords or ninth chords. We want to do that power chord version. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of take that same, we're just going to move. We got our 1, we got our 4, and our 5 here. So it's going to go where we have that 3, 5, and then with my pinky, I'm going to get that 7th fret with the A string, and I'm just going to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. C. Five chord. 4, 1, 5. Turn around, back to the top. So that's how we do that. And then one other thing that I want to talk about real quick is there is a slight variation that can happen in the 12 bar blues with certain songs. It's nothing crazy. It just, in our regular version, we have, the first 4 bars are the 1 chord. But in the variation, you have measure 2 goes to the 4 chord. That's the only difference. So instead of having it be the 1 chord or A7 for the first 4 measures, the second measure goes to that 4 chord, that D9. But then the rest of everything is the same and follows the same progression. So that's just the variation. It depends on the song. But those are the 12 bar blues. So in terms of chords that we use, we don't always have to use if we're talking about let me go back to the sheet. We don't always have to use A7 or D9. We don't have to use 7th or 9th chords is what I'm saying. So if we were still in the key of A, so our chords are going to be A, D, and E, but we could change the qualities of them. So we can make it, instead of A7, we could make it the minor chord. So A minor, and D can become a minor chord. Then the 5 chord can be either E7 or E minor. So here's what that would sound like with minor chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. D minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. Minor, 2, 3, 4, D minor, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, E, and I'm going to go to E7, back to the top. So I kind of substituted that E minor for an E7 at measure 12. It's up to you. You'll hear that sometimes, but both are, different ways of doing it. I guess, so typically you're going to see the set either dominant 7th chords as the 1 chord, followed by the dominant 9 chords for the 4 and 5, or you'll see just straight minor chords, as the 1 chord, the 4 chord, both can be minor. The 5 can be either minor or dominant 7. All right. So that is the wrap up of the 12 bar blues songs. So real quick, some good examples, listening examples of, songs that follow these are, if you listen to The Sky is Crying by Stevie Ray Vaughan, Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan, those follow a lot of the, dominant 7 in the 9 chords, the dominant 9 chords. I want to say The House is a Rockin' by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Also, I'm using all Stevie Ray Vaughan songs because he's my favorite. See, he's the other gardening angel. The house is a rockin' goes, uses that kind of classic, more power chord one. I want to say Crossroads by Cream. Then I think, and once the verse comes out, I went down. Now this progression, this outline follows most blues songs, fit into that formula. Not every single blues song will fall into this, but most of them will. There's, artists can make their own rules sometimes where maybe they want to hold one chord for longer than 4 bars, or maybe they'll switch between the 1 and the 4 chord more frequently than what we have written. But most blues songs follow this. This is kind of like the standard for blues progressions. So hope that helps. That's the blues, 12 bar blues.